I was not quite ready for this, but you know what? I'm excited because today I'm talking about the ARTTI T10 in-ear earphones. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So the ARTTI T10 here. Look, this is a brand that seemed to have popped up fairly recently. I wasn't familiar with them. Started hearing some stuff about the T10. Even had a few people asking me, can you review the T10? And I thought, yeah, well, it's interesting, but I'm a bit too busy at the moment. Someone reached out to me and said, hey, can you do the T10? And I thought, you know what? There seems to be a lot of excitement around this. I have to know. So I said, all right, let's do it. And here we are. So the price of the T10 here, $53-ish, somewhere around that $53 mark. So we're in a budget planar IEM, and that's always a good starting point in my experience. But anyway, there is the box. Inside, you do get a carrying case. You get 6 pairs of ear tips, pretty good selection of ear tips. So we're off to a good start. But without any further ado, let's bring in the IEMs. Now, some of you are probably reeling in horror because, you know, they're different. They look a bit different. They do have a kind of a retro aesthetic to them, and the shells are plastic or acrylic with an aluminium faceplate. It's only available in one color, this sort of beige or bone or off-white color. Standard 0.782 millimeter connectors. But look, it doesn't look good in photos, and it doesn't look all that great in person, but when you hold them, they feel fairly satisfying. It doesn't feel like a, cheap throwaway item. It feels pretty robust in terms of build quality. On top of that, very, very comfortable. I can wear these all day long from morning to evening. No worries at all. So the shells, they might not be the most visually appealing, but they are pretty good. And then you get this cable as well. It's a silver plated oxygen-free copper cable. It's available with either 4.4 or 3.5 millimeter termination, and it's beautiful. It's a stunner. So for a $50 IEM, the quality of the cable is outstanding. You've even got a branded plug there. So I said I was excited about this, and you're probably wondering why. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about the sound. The ARTTI T10, it is a bold and a dynamic performer. The tuning is very upfront. It's got a vibrant and a really engaging mid-range that benefits from exceptional clarity. The bass is enhanced quite a bit, providing lots of satisfying impact, though of course at a slight cost to the overall resolution. Nevertheless, the presentation is lively, it's involving, it's bold, it's in your face, it grabs your attention. It's like, hey, listen. Let's throw up the graph there. And so I wouldn't call this a bass head IEM, not in the least. Maybe the sub bass at the very, very low end of the sub bass, you could call that bass head level, but the mid bass is actually relatively mild. So obviously the sub bass is elevated, although it might appear extreme on that graph there. It is kind of kept in check by the speed of the planar driver, which offers fast transients and superb overall control. So the bass has got nice clean leading edges, it's got pretty rich texture, it's got commanding authority in the sub bass, that is. The mid bass it's ample. It is it falls off a little bit in terms of, compared to the sub bass, but there's enough of it there that it doesn't feel anemic. And the bass overall provides a warm foundation and gives the music an underlying rhythm and groove. Occasionally there is some bass bleed into the lower mids, primarily from the sub bass notes, but it's not really enough to be problematic. Then we got the mid-range, which is both full-bodied and super clear. It's a mid-range that really, like I said, demands your attention. It blends well with the bass, matching the weight and the dimensions of the bass. And while this kind of presentation, it can easily result in sort of having shouty or a blurry mid-range, the T10 here makes use of the driver's agility, the overall resolution of that planar driver, to produce a mid-range that is simultaneously powerful yet articulate. And overall, I'd say it's an impressive mid-range for a budget planar IEM. It's very spacious, it's vivid, it's resolving, yet there's enough body there to maintain a natural tone, and it's got a pretty good timbre as well. Vocals are clear and articulate. Male vocals are slightly on the lean side. They could use a touch more warmth, while female vocals sound vibrant and inviting. Then there is the treble, and the treble has got a hint of sparkle, a bit of glimmer. It's essential for maintaining spaciousness alongside that sort of elevated sub bass. And despite the energy of the treble, it remains smooth, it's free of sibilance and harshness, there's no sharpness. It's got good extension there, provides plenty of air and openness to the sound. Hi-hats are nice and snappy, the sheen of cymbals, it's got a nice ethereal sort of lightness to it, and perhaps most importantly, the treble timbre is pretty outstanding for a budget planar IEM. The treble is perfectly balanced to offset that bass and to complement the mid-range. Alright, now let's talk about soundstage and technicalities. The soundstage has pretty good dimensions, pretty big in terms of dimensions. It's sort of average in width, but it does have notable height in the stage and depth in the stage. And it remains fairly uncluttered, except on occasion where there's a lot of sub-bass activity where it sort of gets a little bit congested. Otherwise, instrument separation is good, and the imaging is notable again for a budget IEM, so positional cues is pretty good as well. So these are great for gaming and movies as well as music. A couple of comparisons now, and we're going to start with, not that one, with this one. This is the Let Shure S08, and this is a recent addition to the, sub 100 planar market, although by $1. Yeah, the price of these, I think it's about $99, but it's another planar IEM. These have aluminium shells compared to the plastic ones, but keep in mind it's about double the price of the T10. So the S08 has a warmer tone. It's a more resolving IEM, albeit less dynamic. The S08 has less sub bass, but it's got a punchier and more impactful mid bass. In addition to that, it has just a touch more fullness in the lower mids, and that's accentuated by a sort of attenuated upper mid range and treble. So the upper mid range and treble are a little bit more subdued on the S08, and the S08 has a smoother overall presentation. It's got slightly blunted leading edges or rounded notes, which leads to sort of softer percussion attacks. But you could also call that transient. So, percussion notes, or any note really, has, instead of being a really cleanly defined sort of straight line, it's slightly rounded. It's got a bit of roundness, a bit of body, a bit of softness to it. Now these two IEMs have a similar soundstage dimension, so they're roughly the same size, but I think the S08 has got better resolution, which leads to better instrument separation and layering and imaging as well. So the S08 probably just a little bit more refined, a little bit better resolution, but the T10 is just out there for pure fun times. All right, the next one in today's comparison will be the Kiwi Ears Melody, another budget planar IEM. Now this one, at least at the time I reviewed it, was $89. It's got a 12mm planar driver, which is smaller than the 14.2mm on this one. The Melody also has acrylic or plastic shells and an aluminium faceplate, just like the T10. Now, in terms of sound signature, the Melody has a warmer and a smoother presentation. It's got a more linear transition between the sub bass and the mid bass, so it's a little bit more even. It's a bit more punchy and impactful in the lows, whereas the T10 just sort of brings on those sub bass notes and a bit more rumble. In addition to that, the Melody has got more body in the upper bass and in the mid range. So as a result, it's got a thicker note size and a darker overall tone for the Melody. Now, in terms of treble, Melody's treble is more attenuated or a bit more laid back, which contributes to its darker tone and additional warmth. I would say the Melody is a bit less dynamic, and it has a kind of a safer tuning with more rounded notes. And when I say safer, that I generally mean it's not as lively or energetic in the treble. So if you're treble sensitive, you would probably prefer the Melody. However, if you want something that's really just lively and bold, then the ARTTI T10 might suit you better. Anyway, let's summarize now. So the ARTTI T10, I'm excited about this. Look, if you are a purist who is looking for neutrality and you hate an elevated bass, then steer well clear of these. The T10 is a fun IEM, it's a musical IEM, yet it's technically adept. It performs quite well. It's got excellent mid-range clarity. It's got a fun level of bass. It's got a beautiful shimmering sparkly treble with good treble timbre, especially for a budget planar IEM. And overall, I actually really think this is a great IEM. I would actually put it maybe even in my top 5 sub 100 altogether. It's that good. Having said that, wrapping it up there, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it the old thumbs up, PAR Family audiophile style. If you would like to help support the channel, check out my Patreon link down below. That would be much appreciated. And if you're new here as well, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.